let's get to who is eating good in the neighborhood. And this is served by Applebee's. Andy Reid, 11th championship game. So now seven straight championship game appearances. Coach, give us some
Rodney,
perspective.
to me, that is so amazing. You know how tough it is to get there. You played with some great teams, and how tough a struggle it was just to get to the AFC Championship game. I coached for 28 years, four very good organizations, had 18 playoff teams, some really, really good teams. I made it to the championship game four times in my life. These guys have
Wow.
gone 7 straight years, and that just doesn't happen, Rod. You got to tip your hat to the coaching and the direction and the leadership of Andy Reid.
Man, Coach, yeah, just a lot of respect for him. And, when I started looking at the coaches I respect that I competed against, the Belichicks, the Coach Dungies, Andy Reid, competed against him at the Pro Bowl, played against him in the Super Bowl. Just really just sitting back as a retired player now, just so proud of Coach Reid and everything that he's accomplished, because for so many years, Coach, they talked about, is he good enough? Can he take this team to the next level? And, they always question him out in Philadelphia. To see him having so much success in Kansas City has been terrific.
Yeah, I agree with you. He took Philly four times to the championship game, once to the Super Bowl. Well, he can't win the big one. Maybe we ought to move on. I think he proved that he can win some big ones here.
And for me, Jack, for me, who's eating good in the neighborhood, I'm going to have to go with the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. And one guy in particular, they got 3 Pro Bowlers on there, and a lot of guys get credit. But this one guy, I've watched him all year, and I think he's done an excellent job, Coach Mekhi Becton. And I got a chance to walk up to him on the field, and I just looked at him, and he is one of the biggest people I've ever seen in my life. And I just said, Mekhi, man, I said, you had a really good year. And Lane Johnson was standing right there next to him. And I just looked at Lane. I said, man, you guys done a really good job, maturing this guy, just being around him and teaching him. And it's amazing how well he's played this year when you have Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, and those guys around him, Landon Dickerson. And this is going to be a good offensive line for a long time, even when Lane Johnson retires. So the Philadelphia Eagles, they're building something special. You saw 287.5 yards rushing games this postseason. That is unheard of, Jack.
It is. Howie Roseman, it's year after year that he builds these teams, and he always seems to build them from the lines out, right? Their defensive line, that group is always tough as heck, deep as heck. Their offensive line, it's like they play old school SEC style football where they're just going to beat you up, and they do it in the NFL. It's got to be hard to do, Coach, but they're the biggest offensive line, and they do it by design.
No, they are. And Rodney mentioned Mekhi Becton. To take a guy who was an offensive tackle, projected to be a blue chip or high draft choice, and he comes in and says, you know what, I'll slide over to guard because that's going to make us a better unit. And I'm going to learn from these guys and do what they do and grow within it. And they become a brotherhood there. It's fantastic to see. But their offensive line and defensive line right now, I think they've got an advantage on everybody in the National Football League.
And Coach, we talked about, and we on the other side, we talked about Jalen Carter and just the impact. And I had a chance to talk to Coach Fangio around 11 o'clock on Sunday. And I saw him walking around the field, and I just said, hey, Jalen Carter is pretty special. And he says, yeah, he's a good player. At times he jumps out of his gap and he does his own thing. But that's just Coach being Coach. But at the end of the day, Jack, and like you and I, we had a discussion about him on Sunday. And we talk about the toughness, the attitude, and just the nastiness that he brought, just the mentality that he brought. And you think about Milton Williams, who plays next to him. I mean, this is a guy that had basically a career year playing next to Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith on the other side. You talk about their 2 linebackers having big years. Zach Bond, he's on a 1-year deal, and he was a first-team All-Pro. He doesn't make that first-team All-Pro without those big horses in the middle of that defense. So a lot of props to him on both sides of the ball, making that a priority.
Yeah. And how would you like to play in the secondary, Rod, knowing that ball's got to come out in about 2.5 to 3 maximum? There's not going to be double moves. There's not going to be these 18-yard comebacks. You can sit on some things in the secondary knowing that those guys are going to pressure.
Spot on, coach. And you look at big play Clay. Darius Slay, and he had about 3 or 4 pass breakups because he could play more aggressive. He didn't have to worry about all the double moves. When he saw Puka come out of his cut, he can just go right now and try to make the play. So you're spot on with that. Absolutely.
And shout out to Jalen Carter, too, for making the big play at the biggest moment of the game. I mean, you know he's getting all that extra attention from that offensive line, but late fourth quarter, we saw Aaron Donald do it in those big playoff moments. There's always a time where if you can just get to the passer and disrupt them, and like he did, I think he sacked Stafford, right? Right there at the end of that fourth quarter, that really screwed up that final drive. I mean, those are game-changing plays. I mean, the Rams had them on skates those last couple of series. They're going up and down the field, and they had a chance to go win the game. And Jalen Carter took that chance right away from him with that sack, really backed him up and set up that 4th and long.
And that's that's what it's all about. That guy who's special, you don't have to make every single play, but when it needs to be made, stepping up and making it, that's the unique quality that Carter has, and it was awesome to see.
And you talk about Jalen Carter and the attention that he gets. I mean, he gets the Aaron Donald type attention. I mean, he's constantly getting double teamed. And even sometimes he gets triple teamed when you're watching this young man on tape. And a lot of young players would give up or get frustrated because they're receiving so much. And this guy continues to play hard. Yeah. He continues to fight. And just the overall nastiness. But he's a big reason why this defense has improved.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.